Hello everyone, Crimson Glow here, just reminding everyone here that you're all wonderful in supporting my efforts to make content for you that's insightful and fun by creating videos and art. If you'd like to fund my efforts into making better content for you, please look in the description below for my links to Patreon and Ko-fi. Please don't forget to look at the Watchful Pony's videos on his channel, which will be linked in the description. If you want to learn more, wait until the end of the video, or just look in the description below. Enjoy the show! Hey Watchful, can I get a Dirty Shirley, please?
Yeah, sure thing. So, what's the occasion?
What you mean by that? I'm just feeling like I want a drink tonight. Though, I suppose since you're a bartender, assumptions about a drink becomes commonplace.
Yeah, I do see a lot of people who drink, and usually there's a reason. Take me. I drink because I enjoy a good drink. To forget the debilitating life I have outside the rift. Or to be a drunk knucklehead over on Twitch. Point is, most people usually have a rhyme or reason to it. You should know that since you know a thing or two about writing.
Yeah, true. Though, what influences the drinks that we drink? It's not just a matter of writing, but also marketing. It's really fascinating, though. Each drink has a different character that are usually drinking that drink. Though I suppose drinking to forget your demons is probably the most common reason why someone takes the glass. Want to talk about it, bartender?
Absolutely. I would love to talk about alcohol more.
That sounds like a plan. Wait, we can snap?! So, I'd like you to imagine 5 people at the bar. I don't care what they look like, what they're wearing, or even what they're identifying as. I don't care. I'm just describing the drinks. One person orders a scotch on the rocks. One person orders a whiskey shot. One orders a cosmopolitan. Another one orders water. And the last person orders a can of beer. What can you tell me about each and every one of those characters based on just their drink?
Well, I would say that the one drinking scotch reminds me of the old detective stereotype. Someone who hits the bottle a lot to escape a past, but keep working his hardest. Despite his past, he would rather forget. The whiskey shot would be someone there to party, or possibly a cowboy. The Cosmo, well, is obviously a woman. A female of the night, as it were, seeking company, or possibly a very wimpy guy or feminine man. The water is simply someone who finds alcohol gross. And the beer, well, I'm not gonna say redneck, but...
Exactly. You have just described 5 different characters that had no personality outside of their drink preference, despite the fact that, arguably, whiskey and scotch taste exactly the same. Save your angry comments for later, I really don't care. It clearly applies to 2 very different demographics, personality types, as well as ages. You assume at least one thing about each character based on their drink. For example, if I had said that the beer drinker was drinking out of the bottle, it had been probably a different sort of mindset that you would be portraying on that person. Part of that has to do with marketing and how the alcohol is portrayed in advertisements and media.
Well, that is because we as a culture do associate different alcohols with different personalities and experiences. Tequila, for example, is always associated with Mexican locations and parties of some kind, whereas wine and champagne is associated with upper-class parties, or upper-class celebrations like New Year's. Now, sometimes they do intersect. For example, the modern Bond's favorite drink is the Vespa, which is champagne mixed with lemon juice and Gordon's gin. I'm not sure why he specifies Gordon since it's a very cheap gin, but whatever.
Speaking of a James Bond kind of drink, if you've ever talked to a bartender, or a food scientist, or even watched that one episode of Good Eats, etc., you'd know that shaking the martini is actually making the alcohol weaker as a result because you're melting the ice faster. This is a clever use of showing character without showing him doing really anything. He's clearly a professional, but he still has to play the part of a high-class person, so he waters down his own drink to be able to look the part without getting drunk or tipsy. It's an interesting way to involve alcohol without the usual 3 ways that media will portray it, which is, I drink to forget, I drink for courage, and I drink to party. And forget!
And most can be linked to different areas. For example, when you hear drinking to forget, you think of 2 kinds of people that come to mind. Detectives or alcoholics. One is romanticized, one is not. And sometimes they both meet halfway. Drinking for courage could be linked as far back as ancient Japan, when samurais performed seppuku, in which they would drink sake, or rice wine, as a ritual. However, it was specifically 2 sips. 1 was seen as cowardice and hesitation, and 3 was seen as rushing to one's death. But nowadays, I think the modern day cowboys or crime fighters are more associated with it. Tony Stark being a mix of the first 2, and the party drinkers, well, you were more than likely one at your 21st birthday.
Now keep in mind that there are actually many subversions of these tropes, and every alcohol, depending on how you serve it, or in what way someone orders it, can vastly change how you think about that person. Say that 2 people order the same beer. Same exact beer, there's nothing tasty different about them. But one orders it from the spout and puts it in a beer glass, while the other takes it in a bottle. It's probably safe to assume that one's going to be sticking around for a while, and the other is going to be hopping around to be social. It really all depends. But what does that mean when you're actually writing a character? Because alcohol can actually tell you a lot more about a character than just their personality. It can also tell you things like social standing, economical background, or even what time period they're in.
For example, having them drink a bright neon drink or one that is very bubbly in a specific glass would be a future or steampunk setting, whereas old-time glasses would show a period piece. One of the best examples I can think of is the Big Lebowski with the dude's drink of choice, the White Russian. The drink is a simple mix of heavy cream, Kahlua, and vodka. It perfectly shows off his attitude. Simple, straightforward, and casual as hell, as well as not super rich, but well enough off in a post-Cold War era since vodka is there.
But why does this stuff even matter, though? You can easily just subvert alcohol altogether, just get someone smashed on whatever drink is around at the bar, or not be specific, or maybe just have a character drink water the whole time, or even not have alcohol at all because you're writing something for 15 and under. While that can work and has several times, there's something that you have to understand. Much like drugs, sex, and violence, alcohol is ingrained close to every culture around. You're likely going to have someone come to a bar or have some type of drink. Even if you do some sort of made-up drink that doesn't exist in reality, because, I don't know, it's a sap from the elder tree, and it was bashed by the great god of all things intoxicant. I don't know, there's going to be some parallels to real-world drinks.
Exactly. Fictional alcohol is a world of possibilities. Here's just a few examples. Grog, an alcohol made for pirates, it is typically made with rum, which would be common in tropical areas, where pirates would frequent. It also has lots of tropical juices to prevent scurvy, which is another thing that is common on long journeys where they would eat nothing but dry crackers for months at a time. With all this considered, it would make sense why Grog would be so popular among pirates in this kind of world. And it gives worlds like the Monkey Island series much more depth. Of course, in the context of Lord of the Rings, there's also more beer, and I apologize if I misread that, which is the drink of the elves. Said to be warming and rejuvenating, which our adventurers needed at this point in their journey, and shows the magical capabilities of the elves as well as warming people in dark times. And on the sci-fi spectrum, we of course have blue milk from Star Wars, said to be from the milk of banthas, which are those big hairy things. It would more than likely be like goat milk, very thick and gummy, but in a desert land it would be all that you would have, and shows the desolation of this world. And of course the Pangalactic Gargle Blaster, which is less for personality and more world building, showing the crazy ingredients of the world.
So when you think about it, a drink can tell you a lot about a character, but it also can tell you a lot about how that world works. Its opinions of intoxication, the behavior a drink can have, as well as something about how the society will use that alcohol as an element of that culture. But what if your character isn't from some galaxy far, far away, or from the 15th century? Say your character is just from here and now. say that you want them to have a drink, but you don't want to be specific and drink throughout the movie, or else, you know, they're just going to be seen as alcoholics or an extra on Sex and the City. Well, you can do what some writers do, and personally I think it's lazy. You can use the drink to party and forget method. It's used in a lot of rom-coms and the like, where a character wants to go out and has a good time, but then wakes up the next morning at a one-night stand, or they got married while they're drunk, by the way that's illegal to do now, and have to face the consequences of their drunk selves. This has been done well in some cases of comedy like The Hangover, but alcohol isn't just some forget juice you drink and then completely forget the next day. That's just not how it works unless you get close to alcohol poisoning. Believe me, I know.
And if that's the case, you don't want it. Instead, use it as flavor text to add more to a character or to a world, not as a contrived way to force conflict. Now, there are ways to work it in, like say making someone an alcoholic, hello Stephen King, but you gotta find a way to keep it interesting.
For example, there are actually two kinds of alcoholics, but this is also in reference to any addiction whatsoever, and that's functioning and non-functioning. A non-functioning alcoholic is usually someone that Stephen King writes. They've pushed away all of their friends and family. They're usually pretty violent, probably haven't held down a decent job in quite a while, and they most likely had some sort of traumatic experience that happened to them, like a death or a loss of some kind. But then there's the functioning alcoholic that are somehow praised for being so functioning under the influence. Most of these characters can be pretty decent, and they're able to do things like being social, they're able to function well in society, but they can't do it without alcohol. An example of this is a functioning alcoholic in Friends, where Monica is actually dating this alcoholic who's really fun and go-lucky, but when he decides to get help, he's not nearly as fun anymore.
The better of the alcoholics, if I'm being honest. Like me. What? When you run a bar, you are bound to drink a lot, okay?
Yeah, but there's a difference between drinking because you like to drink and drinking in order to function. If you need alcohol every day in order to do anything, then there's something wrong with your health. For example, my grandfather's old saying that when you cook, it's how many beers you had to drink, not the time before the next step. Then again, he was a chef, it was a different time, something that you can also use in your day-to-day writing.
Art tends to imitate life, as they say, but you do have a good point. And besides, anything to show alcohol is not necessarily as bad as everyone thinks it is. Is there anything else you can think of? I don't trust Fitcher to run the bar while I'm gone.
No, not really. I think that pretty much like anything that creates dopamine in real life, it should be used sparingly. In writing, alcohol can be used to point out things like a character's personality, social standing, economical background, or even the world that we're in, and it can be a lot of fun to write for. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do your research about what kind of people usually drink that kind of alcohol, and what effects it could have, the flavors, and the glass that are related to that drink.
Sounds about right. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Hey, before you go, want to share one more drink with me?
Sure, why not? It won't be too bad if I'm only gone for 5 minutes.
I'm a unicorn and I'm okay. I want to have some ice cream cake. You look terrible. What happened?
Drank with Crimson. Drinking game. Once upon a time. Too many diaries.
I, have absolutely no idea what that means. But we're gonna be opening soon.
Hey, wait a minute. Where's my hat?
What does it matter? It's just a hat.
It is not just a hat. Where is it?
Hey everyone, I really hope you enjoyed that, and as promised at the beginning of the video, this is where we're going over my Patreon and my Ko-fi. My Patreon allows you to see works in progress as well as full content before the public gets to see them, as well as discounts on commissions, whether they be video or art. Video commissions are now available, and the prices are covered here on screen as well as on my Deviantart. They cover things from covers, singing covers, as well as MLP videos or shipping videos for the things I hate about your OTP. Feel free to ask questions in the comments below or in private messaging. My Ko-fi, on the other hand, allows you to make requests for a topic on any of the polls on Twitter, as well as getting your name as a supporter at the end of every video. Otherwise, thank you all for watching and your support, and this has been your Future Evil Overlord, Crimson Glow, signing out.